Hello and welcome to That Nerd Thing, where we uncover the magical impact that fandoms have on our lives. I'm Morgan, and today's guest is known as a jack-of-all-trades writer, as he's worked on books, indie short films, video games, comics, and more. And you might even know him as TNT Aesop, as he is the current narrative director at Neopets. So I would love to welcome Dean Ravenola. Hello, Dean. Thanks for being here.
Hey there, Morgan. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited. I was looking at your website earlier today, and you've done a lot of really cool things. I didn't realize how much you've done.
Yeah, I've been busy the last few years, to be honest. A little too busy sometimes, but always a good thing to be kept that preoccupied.
Are you ready to jump into your nerdy identity?
I think I am.
What is the first thing that you were nerdy about?
That's a really tough one. I was thinking about this for a while, and it's because I think I was nerdy in a lot of different mediums. So it's like I had to think of what was my first video game, what was my first book, what was my first movie that I got really into and wanted to explore the entire franchise and the world that was involved in that. And it was tough to pinpoint, but I think I was a reader first, so I think it was definitely books. And I read a lot of books when I was younger, but I think the first one that really latched on and grabbed onto me as a kid was The Secrets of Droon. It's this kind of obscure one that was, I don't know how popular it was back in the day, but I certainly saw it in a lot of libraries when I was younger, and I got really into it. It was like a fantasy, Harry Potter-esque, but more like Lightning Thief set in the real world, but like there's things going on behind the scenes kind of thing. So I really enjoyed those. Those were just something that I got really engaged and hooked into when I was a kid. And I think that was the first sort of series that I just wanted to keep understanding what happened with these characters, this world. I wanted to learn more about the lore, and I think that kind of helped me realize where I want to be today, because I am all about the lore these days.
Oh, that's so cool. Well, now I'm kind of curious. You said you were thinking about first movie, first TV show, all that other stuff. So what are some of your other firsts?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you asked. I think my first video game would have to be Sly Cooper. There's these games I really loved as a kid. It was like a anthropomorphic raccoon who was stealing, but he was stealing from thieves. So it's kind of like the Robin Hood-esque type thing. Really fun, some great characters in that one. And I just fell in love with the world building as a kid. They had some really engaging villains that I think always really got me excited to see what they were up to in each of these different lands you would visit. So that's probably my top one for video games, especially my first fandom I really got into. And then for movies, that's a tough one. I feel like it's probably Star Wars. I had some friends who were watching Star Wars movies when I was younger, and I feel like I didn't really get it at first. I'd jump into episode 2 of the prequels and be like, I'm not really sure what's happening, but I like the guy in the jetpack. He's pretty cool. I was just a kid latching onto things that I got excited about. But I think as I continued to watch it at my friends' houses and I got a little bit more into it, I really got excited about the lore of the Force and how everything in the world works, all the different planets and factions warring for control. I think I got pretty excited about that the more I got into it.
So you're really into world building.
Yes, that is definitely one of my favorite things, yeah.
That's so cool. What's your favorite kind of world?
That's a really good question. I think for me, I really get excited about worlds that take you away from the mundane. Don't get me wrong, some of my favorite stories and things these days are actually set in a very mundane place, but I think I'm a big fan of getting you out of your current reality and escaping to some type of more exciting fantasy world where there's its own laws, and I think that's what really excites me, the laws of this world. So I'd say it's kind of tricky, but if I had to put it into words, I'd say a world building where the laws are concrete and followed, and there's these established rules, and you have to uncover it as you go. I think the Force is a good example of that, figuring out how that works. But then even more complex magic systems, and some of my favorite fandoms have gotten really interesting. The Bartimus trilogy is a very interesting one, all based on summoning. It's these magicians don't actually have magic themselves, but they can summon more powerful creatures to do things for them, kind of thing, which I thought was an interesting way to go about it.
Oh, that is cool.
Yeah, and then there's a lot of animes that I've gotten into recently that have very interesting world building when it comes to power scaling or continuing to develop your technique, whether it's something like Naruto and they're coming up with better science or things like that, or something like My Hero Academia where they're continuing to improve on their quirk and learning new ways to use their quirk. I get really excited about stuff like that.
I see why you're a writer. You love all the background stuff and building it. That's important.
Yeah, absolutely. I get zeroed in on it and I want to find out more. And I think there's something about being a writer where it's you want to know everything, but also not everything. I want to figure out as much as I can about the world, but there has to be a little bit of mystery left too, where it's well, this one thing, no one will ever totally know how it works. I get really excited about that stuff too.
What is your favorite nerdy thing?
That's a really hard one to narrow down.
Your favorite nerdy thing can change depending on the day.
Yeah, it absolutely does. I think that's a good way to think about it. I feel like it's almost a little bit of a cop-out because I work there, but I feel like I would say Neopets as one of them, just because It was something that, like, as a kid, I was like, oh, these are cool, like, lands and things. And then coming back to it now and actually having a chance to work on it. And I did this deep dive into the lore when I first had the job. They had, I think it was like an 80-page pack I put together from writers and creators who'd been there before. And I went through all that. And then I was like, oh, it's still, even after all that, it's still not updated to where we are today. There's more out there that I have to find out and learn and hunt down and figure out. And even when I did get as much as I could laid out, there were still so many holes and gaps and missing pieces, which almost felt like previous writers had left for other people to fill in as they go forward, which I think was really cool too. So I think Neopets is probably my favorite one right now that I'm getting really latched onto and engaged to. If I had to pick another one right now, yeah, it's tough, honestly. Maybe Invincible. I've been getting really into Invincible lately. I think the show on Amazon was incredible, and it's gotten me excited about the idea of checking out the comics now, because I'm just blown away by every episode. They always have me just freaked out about what's going to happen next. Every cliffhanger they leave me on, I'm just like, how'd you do it again? Oh.
That's so funny. The episode that was just released at the time of this recording this week, it was with Eric Otero. He's a horror author. I think he mentioned that he loves Invincible as well.
Really? I love to hear that. I feel like I haven't seen enough people talking about it, to be honest, in a lot of the circles I'm in.
Yeah. Oh, man, Neopets. I still remember in the episode with Erin when she pulled up my old account, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that still exists. I used to love it. And now I'm like, you know what? Maybe I don't have too much time, but maybe I'll spend some time going in and exploring that because I used to love it.
Yeah. It's pretty scary coming back to sometimes because you realize, wow, there's so much more going on now. And as a kid, maybe you were just like excited to do one little piece of the site, but you come back and you're like, let me really check it out. And you're like, wait, there's a fully functioning economy on here for some reason? Whoa, okay. It's a little more complex than you expect.
Yeah, I think I was a bit obsessive when I was a kid with it too. And I think my goal was to get to, I don't know what it's called, but like 1 million. Is it
Neopoints.
Yeah.
Yep,
yeah.
That's a common goal. It's really fun. It's one of my favorite things about this job is being in the social groups too. So seeing like on Reddit and Facebook, it's one of the most common posts is people will be like, I got 2 million Neopoints after 5 years of saving or however long it took them. And it's just like, it's weirdly a heartwarming thing to see. I always get excited seeing that stuff.
That's so funny. I had a question I was going to ask you, and then I was like, you know what? Maybe this might be too invasive. I won't ask it. But since you brought it up a little bit, I'm going to ask you, what is it like to see people that post about you on Reddit? You don't have to answer if you don't want to.
I will, and the answer is terrifying. Oh my gosh. As a writer, you have to accept that like you're going to be under a lot of criticism. Like anything on the internet, it's going to be derisive, and there's going to be people who look, and no matter how you write it, and even if you want to make it inclusive for everyone, there are going to be some people who find things that make them feel uncomfortable. And I think there's something to be said in always taking the criticism. I think it's nice to look, and I try to keep an open eye out and like just really check on what people are saying. I think over the years, I've been writing at Neopets for 4 years, and from the very first story-based event I put out, there was already criticism, and I think there was some good, valid feedback in there that I did take and improve. But there's also a lot of people who they get latched on to like their childhood and the nostalgia of everything, and I have to like accept that at some point I can't make everyone happy. I can't recreate that childhood experience that everyone had, but if I can get close, if I can get a couple people to feel that magic again, I think it's definitely worth it. I've seen some intriguing feedback, especially when I did the lives and stuff like that, some things I didn't expect to see. But I will say the community is really passionate, so I think no matter what they're saying or where it comes from, I always try to remember these are people who are so engaged in this fandom that they treat it like almost up on a pedestal, and I'm someone who gets to play in this really renowned sandbox for them that like I don't want to mess up their toys kind of thing. You have to treat it with respect. Overall, there's definitely been some criticism here and there, but overall I've seen a lot of excitement about the things we've been working on, especially the last couple of years. I saw a lot of excitement over things like the Fairy Festival, the Halloween event we've been working on, so it's really nice seeing a lot of the people get excited. I think one thing we've been really trying to target is make Neopets more inclusive, because it was a website that when you were younger, it really did feel like something that was inclusive and wanted everyone there, but I think the older you get, you realize there's some outdated stuff on there, and we've been trying to remove a lot of that terminology, whether they're just like in items or things like that across the site. And then even beyond that, like representation is something you don't really see all too much in a world as diverse as Neopets. You have all these different characters, but most of the fairies are predominantly white, and there's not really a lot of different hairstyles or diverse clothing, so that's something we've been trying to bring in. Even accessibility awareness too. We had a whole line of accessibility items, which is really nice. Disability things, whether it's hearing for something like someone who needs a hearing aid, or more like crutches, things like that. We just like the idea of bringing these things more to the forefront. And same thing with characters. There's a lot of characters who've been trying to diversify a little bit. I know we had our first canonically lesbian relationship, I think it was 2 years back now, in the Outdoor Cup, and that was a really, really nice thing to bring to a lot of people. A lot of people were excited to see that type of representation. We've been trying to move that forward as we go on, and I'm working on a really big plot now, which is a large part of the plot is trying to make sure that Neopia is a place that's welcome to everyone, and I think that's one of the main themes we're working on too, is how everyone can feel welcome in these spaces. So I think it's something we're trying to think about a lot while we create behind the scenes too. But sorry, I'm rambling a lot. I know that.
No, I love rambling here. And I don't think it's rambling. I think it's just sharing the things you're passionate about. But that's amazing. That's wonderful that you all are doing that.
Yeah, it's been really nice to have the opportunity to do it, just because I know there's a lot of different games where you can write some great storylines and all that, and you can get engaged in the stories. But I think it's nice to think about the larger impact of what you're working on here. I mean, Neopets feels like a cultural touchstone for a lot of people, where it's like it was a part of your childhood, and maybe even now it's like something that you go back to for safety and security. So I think it's just nice to think about like how we can continue to evolve that cultural touchstone and make sure it's something that everyone can really enjoy and feel welcome in.
That's amazing. What are you currently nerdy about?
That's a really good one too. I feel like this is going to be a kind of weird and random one, but What We Do in the Shadows is a TV show.
I love that show.
Yes, thank you. Another one that I feel like enough people don't know about, but that something about the lore in that world has got me really excited too, because like I said, I'm a fan of like taking something mundane and putting a little spin on it, making it more exciting. And I think the idea that like these vampires are living in modern day all across the world, but like the New York City setting, and just seeing them not really understand how much the world has changed around them as they seek to like still like control it is just there's something about that feels so right and just like really like topical right now for a lot of people who are so out of touch with reality but still trying to control it. Like, I don't know, it's very interesting.
Oh my gosh, I'm so happy you brought that up. I love that show, and it's true. I don't think enough people that I know at least speak about it, but I think it's so funny. It's so clever. My favorite show of all time is The Office, so I felt like this is kind of like the vampire version of The Office, so I love it. It's so good.
Such a good point. I never heard of it like put that way, but you're absolutely right. It has that kind of like, yeah, whole feel of like the camera's following them around too, just the mockumentary type feel. Yeah, wow.
It's so good. It's so good. I love it. Who's your favorite character?
That's a really good question. I feel like it's got to be between... Yeah, no, I feel like all four of the vampires, both like the actors that are picked are incredible. I think it's probably either Nadia or Colin Robinson. They're both like so good in their own ways.
Yeah.
And Colin Robinson, I think that episode when he gets the promotion, I've never laughed harder. That one absolutely killed me. And then Nadia is just so uniquely funny, but then again, Laszlo, Matt Berry, the way he delivers his lines, it's really hard to pick a top one. How about you? I'm going to turn it back on you. Do you have a favorite?
Oh, it really depends on the episode. I really love them all, but I mean, I guess I'd have to go with Nandor.
That's a good one. Yep. I think Nandor really grew on me as the show continued.
I'm so interested in the relationship between Nandor and Guillermo.
Yeah, they really have me hooked. And the way they continue to like drag it out as the seasons continue, like I almost feel like they're going to address it, and then it's like, nope, we're still not going to really get into it quite yet.
Yeah. It's a good show. It's so good. And I think there's just one more season, which I'm like, wish it could go on forever. But it's so good.
Feel you there. Another show by the same director that I really enjoy, maybe creator, is Our Flag Means Death. If you haven't seen that one, I would highly recommend it. Yeah.
Okay.
Only 2 seasons so far, but another really good one that gets you hooked on the relationships between characters.
What is it called?
Our Flag Means Death. It's a pirate-themed one.
Okay, cool. I love doing the show because I learn about so many new things for me to check out.
Some good recommendations, yeah.
What is the most underrated nerdy thing about you?
That's a tough one. This is the one that I think stumped me the most out of the ones you had so far. This one's definitely a tricky one.
Yeah. I could also see What We Do in the Shadows fitting here, that it's underrated if people don't know much about it.
I think so, yeah. Another one I would definitely say, too, is a very underrated one, I think. But we were talking about animes earlier, and one that really gripped me and I feel like not enough people have heard of is Way of the Househusband.
My husband loves that show.
Yes! That makes me so happy, because I think that is just like I was talking about earlier, I don't like many ones that make it mundane. Some of my favorites are, though, and this is one of them, where it's incredibly mundane show. It's actually like a ex-Yakuza gangster kind of thing who is now, he used to be like this top guy over there. He's now decided to completely change his life and become a house husband, and he just gets so into like the laundry and cooking, and it's just like weirdly like beautiful in this mundane way where he's just getting so excited about doing these things and taking them so seriously, even though like for us it's just a chore kind of thing. I don't know. It made me like really appreciate the beauty in the little moments of the day kind of thing.
Oh, I love that. Like beauty in the ordinary.
Yeah, absolutely.
What is the most random nerdy thing about you?
Random one. I feel like there's probably a lot of things I could go with. But I think a fun one was I'm a big mythology nerd. Back when we were in, I think it was middle school, we had an assignment where we had to dress up as one of the gods or goddesses from Greek mythology. And I know a lot of people from my class like maybe just brought in like one little thing and was like, here you go, I'm Hestia from the hearth. I have a little like makeshift fire kind of thing. But I was so excited about this. I went all out, and I'm normally like all about the authenticity and making sure I'm accurate, but I did take a liberty here. I liked the Hercules Disney movie so much that I did the blue hair from Hades. So I dyed my hair and I spiked it up and I went all with that. But then beyond that, I was very accurate to the actual lore. I brought his actual helmet and everything. I tried to keep much more to the lore of the mythology behind that, but I got so excited about the blue hair that I did go all out with that one. So I think that's probably up there for me.
So you love Hades?
I do, yeah. I think he's probably one of my favorite. If I had to pick different Greek mythology, I think he's up there because he's an interesting one. All of them are very problematic when you look into a lot of the specifically Greek mythology, but I think Hades and Persephone have a very interesting story that's been told a lot of different ways, and I've seen some modern retellings of that story that are very interesting too.
Yeah, have you seen Hadestown?
I have not. That one's actually on my list though. Yeah, I definitely have to check it out.
So tell us about your journey into fandom.
Sure. I feel like it definitely started with books for me. Like I mentioned, I was a reader first. There was a lot of fantasy series that I got really excited about as a kid. Secrets of Druin is one I mentioned. Beyond that, there's so many that I could probably list off. Harry Potter was a big one for me. Lightning Thief to The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. A lot of the Narnia series I got into. The Warrior series, the Warrior Cat series, not exactly fantasy, but I got very into that one when I was younger too. And then actually the How to Train Your Dragon books I got really into too as a kid. So those were like where I started. I think I was cutting my teeth with storytelling, just learning more about it as I was reading. And I think a lot of writers like Stephen King do say that you cannot write unless you're reading routinely and you're really like engaging and getting a sense of how other people are crafting these stories. And I think there's something about the way your brain can kind of just like automatically start formulating the structure of a story and understanding it without you having any actual education. I think it's really cool because writing is one of those things that a lot of people can get into without having this type of background. It's absolutely great to go to school for these type of things and learn more and be well read and all that, but I do truly believe that anyone who's written a letter is a writer, and I think that makes all of us a writer at some point. So I think I got really excited about that as a kid. My mom was a reading teacher, so I was a big reader when I was younger, and that kind of parlayed into writing over time. I think it was maybe around like middle school or high school. I did a lot of writing assignments. Most of the time I'm just writing, an essay here and there. So I never thought of writing as an activity I really enjoyed. And then there was a chance I got to write some fantasy stuff, I think, for one of my classes. And I got so excited about that. And I think the assignment was to write like a chapter or something. And then I just went home and just continued writing and wrote like a kind of whole section of what I thought might be a cool story. And then I think I got so excited about that, I decided, hey, maybe I just try doing my own thing, and I did. I wrote a young adult fantasy novel while I was still in high school, and I think I published it just about before I graduated high school too, so it felt cool to get that in under the wire.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
wow.
It was, I will say, it was definitely a product of me just being really ambitious and young and excited to write and work on something, and looking back, I do cringe a little bit, as we all do, looking at some of our first writing pieces and being like, oh, I wish I had handled that a little bit better, or took a little bit more time with editing and all that, but I'm really happy I did it. I think it helped me set myself on the path that I am today. From there, I decided to go to UConn, the University of Connecticut, and pursue creative writing there too, and I continued to work on a school newspaper we had there. I did some different writing for some online contributions as well. I think some of them were like Looper, SVG. So some of those were already focused on TV, movies, video games, stuff like that. I did some marketing writing from there too. And then after that, I kind of was really lucky when I was just shifting through the job boards one day. I saw an internship for Neopets pop up, and I thought, there's no way I'll hear back, but it doesn't hurt to just send that application in kind of thing. And I was incredibly fortunate enough to actually hear back from them. I was located in Connecticut at the time, so I had to move all the way out to California and figure out that whole move, and they had me do a writing test and all that, but things worked out well. I was really excited that they liked my stuff and they wanted to have me on board, so I jumped on the plane as soon as I could. It was kind of scary just dropping everything, but I mean, my dream has been to be a writer my whole life, so I need to take the chances when they come. Anyone in these type of creative fields will tell you it's not really a linear path to get to where you want to be. It's not like you go to school for nursing for 4 years and then you take your tests and then you come out and you work as like a nurse part-time before you get the full type of thing. It's not really a set structure like that. It's more so you jump on whatever opportunities come your way and you try to get your name out there and you're writing out there in any way you can. So I jumped on it. I flew out to California, and then I got very into Neopets. I delved right into the lore again. I had known it when I was a kid, but I didn't realize how much I'd missed out on. So coming back, I delved into the lore again. And yeah, I think from there, it was really just a journey of continuing to move my way up the ladder. And I think it's funny because I definitely have been a nerd my whole life, but I think working at Neopets and having the chance to be like, this is my day job, it was very freeing to be like, I get to be a nerd all the time. Like, everyone in the office is huge geeks on whatever different types of fandom it is, and it's really funny to have people in the office who will be like, oh, this movie I'm really excited about, or this video game I'm really excited about is coming out, so I'm going to take the day off so I can enjoy that. I think that's not something you see a lot of times. People take sick days to do that at other jobs, but we're very open about, hey, no, the new Final Fantasy is coming out, I'm excited to play it, I'm going to take a couple days off so I can do it. But yeah, I really like being in that environment. I think it freed me up a lot more to get excited about this stuff, and I think anime was something I mentioned. I got way more into anime the last couple of years too. I think being out here, maybe it's California too, there's a lot of nerds out here as well, but I think going to all the conventions too. I went to Comic-Con for my first time recently, and then I went to, I think it was both the San Diego and the LA Comic-Con, and then I also went to GDC. So really cool getting to go to all these different events with a lot of other nerds and like letting my nerd flag fly, I guess. So yeah, I think the last couple of years have been a lot of development for me in terms of my nerd awakening. I don't know.
Oh, I love that, the nerd awakening. So then when you were younger, first getting into this, did you kind of like hide those parts of yourself?
I definitely think I did. I think like when I was younger, it was one of those things where it's like you're all playing Pokemon, so like it's not that big a deal, but you hit that certain age where it's like you're flipping through the channels and you throw on Cartoon Network and someone's like, what are you doing watching Cartoon Network? You're too old for that. But we're all still kids, but you hit that cycle where you're like, oh wait, maybe I shouldn't be enjoying this anymore, and you have that moment and you step away. So I think, yeah, there was definitely a point in time where I tried to step back from a lot of fandoms, and I think the shirt I'm wearing is a perfect example. I love Avatar, but I never talked about it with any of my friends. I loved watching it when it was on Nickelodeon when we were all young. I was probably still in middle or high school when it was airing, and I was super into the show, but I like never talked about it with any of my friends because I feel like we were all too scared to admit that we were into this cartoon anime show and we were too old to enjoy it or whatever. So I think, yeah, I definitely think I had some of that pressure to not show how much I enjoyed these things. I definitely had some friends who were into them, and we continued to talk about our nerdy stuff, but I think I got too caught up in trying to socialize and all that, and I wanted to make sure that like I was normal enough to fit in with everyone, that kind of thing.
So what was it like for you to take that big move to California?
It was scary, but I will say I didn't really feel like I had belonged all too much more in Connecticut, and I think there's a lot of reasons for that. It's one of those things where it was a couple years after college, so more and more people had continued to move away. I had a couple friends there, but most people had already left, and like I mentioned earlier, I felt like I was trying to seem normal and fit in and make sure I fit this bubble. I'm not a very big sports guy, and I think because I had a tough time making friends with guys, because most of the times you walk up to someone and you're trying to like just have a conversation, and I think the go-to for a lot of guys is like, what sports are you into? What teams do you watch? And I just don't really follow any, so I feel like it's hard to get into a lot of those conversations. So yeah, I feel like it was hard to feel like I belonged in the New England setting that I grew up in, and I think taking a couple of years after college and trying to find that career path almost cemented that more, because I did have some friends around me, but like I kind of got miserable doing that day job hustle where I would go into the marketing job. I would write blog posts about septic tanks and things like that for these people who wanted me to help market their things through blog posts, and I would just do writing that was writing, but not really anything I was excited about or I felt was really fulfilling for me. As scary as it was, I was so excited to have that chance that I think I just jumped on it, and it was like, yeah, let's put all of our eggs in this basket and just go for it, because I haven't had this chance before and I don't know where it's going to take me, how it's going to go. It could have just been an internship for 1 year, honestly, and I could have had to fly back, but I was really lucky that things worked out.
What are some of the other projects that you've done?
Yeah, sure. When I was working at Jumpstart, which was the company that first hired me to work on Neopets, Neopets has since been actually bought out and become its own entity now, which has been really cool.
Jumpstart, was that like the old computer games?
You know the name. That's awesome. Yeah.
Oh
the
my
old
gosh.
like Math Blaster ones. Yup.
Yeah, I was obsessed with Jumpstart third grade. It was like a whole time machine. Maybe that's why I love time travel. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Okay.
That's
Wow.
awesome. Wow. No, I love that. Small world. But yeah, same exact company. I worked there mainly on Neopets, but I worked on Neopets for I think maybe 1 to 2 years. And then there was a lot of shifting going on in the company, and they actually had the writer on one of their other games who left to work with Blizzard. Really cool opportunity and all of that. But they had a hole to fill there that they just wanted someone to jump on and help out with. And I was really busy with Neopets at the time, but loved the franchise that I had the chance to work on. And it's funny because it's going to loop back to what we were talking about earlier, How to Train Your Dragon. There was actually a How to Train Your Dragon game that Jumpstart worked on, and they needed a writer for that, so I was lucky enough to get a chance to work on it. And it was really cool having this moment where I was like, these are characters that I like grew up like reading in this book, the series that I was obsessed with, and now I actually get to write them myself. I get to like kind of shape what Hiccup's going to be saying in this scene and how Astrid's going to react, and it was really cool experience for me there. I absolutely love that. Unfortunately, the game was sunsetted maybe a year or two later, so I only got to work on it for a little bit, but I'm very grateful for the time I had. I got to do some really fun events, and there was a great team working on it too. So yeah, that one was a lot of fun. And then something I actually neglected to mention, but before I worked for Neopets, I think the reason I didn't think of it was because it was more of a volunteer basis. It wasn't an official job. I was getting paid, but there was a Florida Disability Association which was creating a game called Changed, which I found really interesting based on the experiences of a soldier returning home, but is then injured and loses the ability to walk, so it's like adjusting to that and having to live with this disability now, but there's also a murder going on in the town that he has to uncover too. So it was a very engaging game, and I had the chance to work on that before I even worked at Neopets or anything else, just because I was helping them out from a volunteer type basis. So I think that was another project I was really excited to work on too.
That's really cool. You've worked on some really neat games. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I've definitely been pretty passionate and lucky to have a chance to work on all these things. And I think it comes from that passion. I just like see something and it's like, even if I'm busy and I probably should say no, I'm like, oh, but I really want to do that. So yeah, I'll make time for it kind of thing. Beyond that, I think another one that I was excited about was Fairy's Hope. It was a mobile game we worked on. It was a little bit challenging because we were working with a studio based out of China, and we didn't always agree on things, so we had to like kind of come to compromises here and there. But I'm still very proud of what we came out with that game, and there's some cool good news there too, is that now that Neopets has become its own entity too, there's been a team that's been picking it back up and working on it now, and we're working with them just more of an advisory thing. But they're actually, a lot of the tweaks they suggested were things we initially wanted and had to fight for and didn't always get, so it was really nice to have this team go on and be like, we want to change these things, are you okay with this? And we're like, that's all the suggestions we had. We are so happy we're on the same page already. So yeah, really excited about that too. It was a game I was really proud to work on, and I think mostly because there was an incredible writer who we hired on that time to work on that game, just because we were so busy we needed help with someone on the floor, like putting together all the different copy for every scene and the dialogue and all that, and they were incredible, and I was so lucky to get a chance to work with them there, because I think just seeing how they worked on that product, it was really easy to convince the higher-ups like, hey, we should hire this writer for Neopets and continue to grow our narrative team just on the site and all that. And they're now working and doing a fantastic job. It's TNT Stone for Neopets fans. I'm a huge fan of TNT Stone. They are awesome. So yeah, no, it's been really nice just seeing the team grow and expand as we create other games too, which has been a really cool experience.
Are there any parts of your journey that you found maybe surprising?
I think the biggest thing for me is I always thought that, like I said earlier, I know there's not a linear path that you have to follow as a creative, but I always thought that there would be at least some sort of like, I get into the work industry kind of thing. I get into this career that I'm excited about, and then I have this mentor who helps me get to the next level, and then I move here. I like expected there to be some sort of path, I guess, but it feels like I am just like in the wind here. I didn't expect to get this far in my career without ever having that type of mentor, and I don't really feel like I have at this point, which is kind of crazy. I've had a leadership mentor who was also at Jumpstart, and he unfortunately left recently, but he was incredible, and he really helped me grow a lot as a leader, but I don't think I've ever had like a creative writing narrative mentor. I tried to do some, I think they were called like additional classes or something like that, but I tried to do some exploratory classes with some writers and teachers at UConn, but it was really hard to find time, both on the professor side and on mine, getting schedules that matched up. So I think that's the biggest thing for me. I guess I always expected to have a mentor to help me guide and figure out these things on the way, and I feel like there would be times where I would move into a position and be like, oh, this person is probably going to be my mentor, and then they're let go and I absorb their responsibilities. I'm like, oh, okay, guess not. I'm just going to figure it out as I go along. All right. And I think there's a lot more of that than I expected, not just at like a Jumpstart, but in almost every writing career I've had, whether it's marketing or whatnot. I feel like there's a lot of like, I expect to have more of a path or guidance or something like that, but a lot of people assume like, you're a writer, you know what you're doing, put them in there, they'll figure it out kind of thing.
So you've really had to trust yourself and kind of like be your own mentor.
Yeah, which is a scary thing. I think like finding that level of trust within myself and realizing like, as I think everyone struggles with that imposter syndrome type stuff,
Yeah.
No matter how far along you are in your career. I've heard people who have created like multiple hit movies and they're still like, I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe this next one's going to be a flop and everyone will see I've just been a fraud this whole time. I think a lot of people get wrapped up in that type of mentality, and it's really easy to get stuck there, especially when you're working on a brand like Neopets, where there are fans who know it better than you ever could because they've been there, they've lived and they've breathed it like every day for decades now. So they know the brand like in and out better than you ever could. And I think it's one of those things that's kind of scary. You want to make sure you do it justice for them. You can't make everyone happy, but you still want to make sure that you deliver something that does respect to what came before you, kind of thing. So I think, yeah, there's a lot of trust you have to have in yourself. I think a lot of that has to be built up too over time. But I think in a weird way, it makes me want to be that mentor for other people if I can. It really makes me want to reach out and try to help people get these roles, because it's also very hard to get that foot in the door anywhere. I was so lucky to have that internship, and I have a lot of people who ask me, how you get there, what did I do, what is my path, and I'll give them all the advice I can. I'll tell them how I did it, but at the end of the day, I'll say I'm really lucky. It was sheer dumb luck at some point. Sure, there's some talent mixed in there, I like to think, but I know there was a lot of luck that got me that chance to just even get my foot in the door. And I think that's something that isn't really talked about enough, just how insular this industry can be, whether it's video games or TV or movies or books. It can be really hard to get that first agent, that first publisher, that first person who really is excited to read your work. And if you don't have some kind of following or a name for yourself, it's really hard to take that first step. I'm excited to try to be that for other people now. I've already tried to talk to some people and help them figure out where they're going, kind of thing. But I think beyond that, it'd be exciting to try to offer that mentorship for other people if I can. But again, I'm still trying to figure it out myself sometimes, it feels like.
So it seems like a lot of it can be just timing and luck.
Absolutely. I think timing is a big thing too. I don't know if I brought up this detail, but I got this internship maybe a month before the pandemic hit. So it was a lot of luck there too, because I had the internship and then I moved out here and everything shut down. But if I had been a little bit later or something, it might have been very different. And I know because of that, like the industry shifted a lot because of the pandemic. We had things like there was a huge hiring in video games for a while, and now we're seeing a bunch of layoffs, and it's really hard to get those jobs. So it's things come and go in those waves. And that's what I try to tell people too, because I'll have friends who are saying, look, I'm sending out hundreds of applications and I'm not hearing anything back. And for the record, I did the same thing. I sent out probably thousands before I heard back from Neopets. There's multiple years of just sending out applications while I'm trying to get through the day, kind of thing, whether I'm working at a marketing gig or whatever I was to make money. There's just a lot of that silent rejection that you have to deal with. Yeah, it'd be nice if there was more avenues for people to get in and not have to worry about having the right time or the right chance or whatever, but I think it's tough. I'm seeing more of those now. There's definitely some more ways for people to get in, but I think the weird, exciting thing about these scary layoffs of all these larger companies is that it means there's going to be a lot of smaller studios opening up, hopefully with people who are really passionate because they're the ones who got laid off and they really care about the storytelling, and it's not the numbers that they're worried about. It's more so like, how can they tell a story that needs to be told?
Yeah, there's timing and luck, but also you put in a lot of the work for that timing and luck to even play out.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of work. I was lucky to get that internship, and I was excited to do any type of creative work, but to be honest, there wasn't a ton at the start. My first duties were mostly a lot of things on the site, which is upkeeping a lot of the contests we run, so things like the storytelling, customization, poetry. We have all these different contests that run and need to be judged and looked over and prizes granted, all that. So I did a lot of admin stuff like that. It'd also be like uploading items and setting them up, so it's a lot of like clicking and programming and not super fun writing stuff, to be honest, but I knew that it was a chance to do something. And to be honest, they gave me like little slivers that I got really excited about. Like item creation was one. I got to come up with items, whether they were like outfits for your pets or entirely new like colors, how they would look on your pet, or even like smaller wearable items, or even like weapons and things like that. And I got really excited about those. I mean, that was the first time I ever actually had fun at a day job. And I think I remember like tweeting like, this is like the first time I've ever enjoyed my job. And it's like a weird moment. And it's just like, yeah, I think that kind of got me so excited that like, even if like only 10% of my job at the time was doing those fun creative things, I had a little bit of it to sink my teeth into, and that was enough. That got me so excited that there could be more if I keep pushing and I keep going along. And I did a lot of content work for a good year or two, and then we hit the point where we're like, this is too much for one person to do, and now we tried to spread it out over multiple people, just because it was one of those things where like I was working really long days and kind of sacrificing having a social life or things like that, just because I knew like, hey, I came out here for the job, for the career, that's what I need to do, so I need to focus on that. And even if it means making some sacrifices for a year or two, that's why I'm out here.
What is it like for you to have fans?
It's strange. It's really strange. I'm one of those people who will have those days where you'll like look in the mirror and you'll be like, okay, I actually like don't look that bad today. And then the next day you're like, oh my gosh, what is wrong with my face? Have I always looked like that? So I feel like I have those moments where I just like go flip flop on myself. So seeing people who are excited to see my writing is almost weird. I'm like, wow, you guys like, did I trick you somehow? Like, you think I'm good at this? Like, it just, that imposter syndrome always comes out, honestly. But no, it's really really rewarding. It's really exciting to get some of these messages. We have a thing where it's like we try not to respond to too many fan mails or messages, whether it's positive or negative comments. If it's something that like, we're dealing with like a prize issue or something like that, we'll try to help them out. But we really have a policy where we try not to answer too much, just because there's been some policy things that come down the pipeline with that. But I will say I get some really heartwarming messages from people, and if you're one of those people who've sent them to me and you're watching this, thank you so much. Even if I didn't respond, like, they mean the world to me. They really do. There's been some days where you just have those messages come in and they just really like take a weight off of you. I'm really grateful for the little bits of excitement and positivity that I've seen, and for everyone who's reached out and said some positive things or been excited to see more of my writing. I think this plot is something that's kind of scary because it's this year-long story that's going to run for a good chunk of time, probably 10 to 11 months from when it actually starts. Yeah, and we're kind of in this precursor phase right now, so we've already begun a little bit, but it'll kick off a little bit later, and I'm sure people will be excited when it does. And I'm almost dreading, but also very excited to see what people are going to say about that. There's a lot of story that we have that's coming out that I'm really proud of. It's taken a lot of time to. We've been working on this for years now, but at the same time, we put a lot of heart and soul into it, and there's some really exciting character moments that I know I connect with, and I know a lot of the writers in our team connect with, and I really hope have some resonating moments with people out there too. They really connect to these characters. To answer your earlier question, I think it's strange. It feels really strange knowing that there are people out there who know me other than like just this TNT pseudonym, and actually are excited to see what I'm going to do next. That's really cool.
Oh, do you have any upcoming projects that you would want to talk about?
I have a lot of things I'm working on. I will say the plot has been taking up so much time right now, and it probably will for another couple of months. That is my main thing. But I am one of those people who feels like you need to always be creating, and I love creating at my day job, but I also like it's my hobby too. So in my free time, I like to do a lot of creating as well. One of the biggest things I've been doing is I've been doing a lot of these indie short films. They're by no means professional. It's just me trying to figure out how some of the films, because I've been writing a lot of films for a while. Most of them are like TV show pilots, things like that. But then I wrote a couple of shorts that I was having fun with. And to be honest, most of them are things I could not do myself. There's no way I can actually produce something like this, whether it's special effects I need or more actors or like a grandiose set. There's a lot of things I can't do. But I just have kind of hit that point where I've been creating so much that I have all these stories and all these scripts that I just want to start seeing them come to life. And I know I probably don't have the time to start reaching out to people and trying to set up a studio right now. Like I said, the plot takes up a lot of my time, but I want to create in my free time still. So my compromise has been I've just been like practicing my craft right now with short films and just making some little indie short films that I'll put up on like TikTok and YouTube and just kind of go for it and see how they feel, sort of thing. Some of them are a little silly, some of them are a little scary. I've been kind of going a lot of different directions with them, but I try to keep them all kind of surreal. I think that's the one thing I've been sticking with, and I've been having a lot of fun with them. Some of them are way less professional and don't look too great, but I'm getting there. I think the more I do, the better they get, kind of thing. And I've had some really nice friends who have offered to help me out with acting and things like that, or behind the scenes camera stuff. So yeah, that's one of those little projects I think I've been working on. Beyond that, I love writing books. That's something that I've started my career with, and something I've always been doing in the back burner too. I wrote a book that didn't really finish, but I got most of it done in college that I'd really like to revisit and continue to pick apart. But beyond that, there's a project I've been working on lately that I'm really excited about, which is the idea of like a children's book that explains the world around you in a way of like modern day myths. So it's like explaining to you like, hey, in the TV there's these cathode rays, but they're shaped like little like manta rays, and they're swimming around. And I want to explain the science behind things with you, but give you like a fun little out of this world explanation for it. Yeah, I thought that'd be something that'd be easier for kids to latch onto, and something that I think I could have used to learn things, because I think I have a tough time sometimes with the drier subject, whether it's math or science, when you get into the nuances of things. If there's not some fun imagery or graphics to bring me into it and help me picture it and really like get into it. So that's one thing I've been excited about too. But yeah, I feel like I've been really busy lately. It's hard to juggle everything and keep everything up in the air.
Yeah, you sound like you have a lot going on. A lot of it sounds really neat, and I'll definitely share whatever links you want me to share in the show notes of this episode.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
What would you say fandom is like?
I think fandom is all about finding an escape. I think that's what it comes down for me, finding something that you're so excited about that it takes you away from the humdrum world or the troubles or whatever anxieties you're dealing with. I think giving you that escape, and not only a place that you can escape to and feel comfortable with, but one that you are so engaged with and so excited about that you feel like you need to learn more about. I think there's different escapes. Like I think like golf could be an escape for some people, maybe like a sport like that where you're taking some time and you're relaxing, you're like settling. But I think like fandom is like an escape to an entirely different reality that sucks you in a very different way, that you feel like you are absorbed. You need to learn more. You need to know more about the characters, the lore. You like need to uncover the mystery of the world. It's just almost like this burning desire to explore. I think that's what it comes down to, I guess, is the exploring of whatever world you're engaged in.
I love that. That kind of goes back to what we were saying before with that world building of really trying to explore and understand the thing that you're passionate about.
Yeah, that's a good point.
How has fandom changed your life?
I mean, in a very literal way, it's made me so happy because before I was stuck in, the day job of something I didn't really enjoy, and I was just trying to get through the day. And I think I really felt that need to create every day, like I said, and feel like I'm doing something more fulfilling. And I think the fandom of Neopets that I've gotten so excited and wrapped up in now has given me that chance. So incredibly grateful for that. And I think beyond that, even just like my personal fandom escapes, I mean, when I'm having rough days, it's really nice to just throw on some anime and get lost in whatever Luffy is doing that week, and just like getting excited about that and just getting immersed in that world and exploring something other than the taxes and the real world things that I already am way too worried about here. Like I think it's something about, I guess I'll keep going back to explore. I think that word exploring.
Yeah. And so I know you said you've sort of had like your nerd awakening over the past few years. What has that been like for you to meet all these people, go to these conventions and explore all of that?
It's been really, really exciting and rewarding. The coolest thing has been going to the conventions and meeting people, just like you said. I think like meeting fellow nerds, and not only like creatives, because I think that's what I get excited about, is meeting other creatives, people who want to create, and I like hearing about their craft, and then I can talk to them about my stuff too. It's fun to like share and go back and forth. But it's also really excited to like just talk to people who are like such avid consumers that they go to the nines and dress up in like this extravagant cosplay that I've never seen before, and they have like wings and like the coolest outfits ever. And it was really exciting to be at the Neopets booth, and you would have people come by dressed up in other fandoms and get excited about their fandom, and then they'll geek out about your fandom and kind of like do the back and forth. Yeah, it was really rewarding, and I think it's also been eye-opening because like we talked about, I think I was definitely a nerd when I was younger, but I had that reawakening when I got older and realized it was okay to be a nerd, and especially in my career, obviously it's almost encouraged. But yeah, I think like having that moment where I was like, there was so many different types of people too. It's not just like younger people, it's not just a certain like image or an archetype you would think. It was people from all walks of life too, and that's what got me excited, was just thinking like all these different people are like waving their nerd flag very proudly and having a good time. And I think it's also bringing together very different people. Like I remember having a conversation with a Neopets fan who was in her 60s, and I was like, wow, that's so cool. Like I think the story was she had actually gotten her granddaughter into it when they were younger, but she liked the game so much she just kept playing, and she keeps playing to this day. And that got me like so excited, because I'm like, I don't know how much we have in common, but it's so cool that we have this common thread, Neopets, that we can like connect over.
Yeah, you're really able to connect over fandoms. What does being a nerd mean to you?
That's another really tough one. I think being a nerd is all about being inquisitive. I think inquisitive is the best word I could have, especially when we're talking about exploration and all that. I think it's, you see this world, and it's normally like maybe you just saw a commercial or you saw like an image of a character, and then you have this burning desire to be like, who is that? What's their deal? Like they look interesting, but I can't tell if they're like a morally leaning like to the positive or the negative side. I'm not really sure. I feel like I'll get so excited about those type of things, and I think that's what makes a nerd is you're inquisitive. You get excited about whether it's like Star Trek, this planet they're visiting, what's going on this planet, what are the laws, how do things work on this planet, versus like getting engaged in a board game, like how does the laws work here, how does this work, how can I like maximize like my efficiency in this game. Yeah, I think nerds get really excited about being inquisitive and understanding the world around them, the rules, learning and exploring. So I think, being a nerd is being inquisitive and not being ashamed to explore and kind of theorize and geek out a little bit and get creative too, is another thing I'll say, because there's some times where people can say things and get too corny or cheesy or whatever, but I think it's good to just take a step back and like not get caught up in what's corny or cheesy and just like enjoy yourself sometimes.
Exactly. Yeah. I like what you bring up about theorizing, because I think that's really a fun part about being a nerd, is that there's always new things to explore and try to understand and come up with theories about.
Yeah, and I will say that's actually probably one of my favorite things about being a writer at Neopets right now, and especially with the plot, is there's a lot of excitement around this plot, and I love going on Reddit and Facebook and seeing everyone theorize. We drop a lot of clues, we've been doing a lot of hints, and they've picked up on everything. People are like very sharp in this community. They are on top of it. So every time we have one little thing, I'm like, maybe that'll slip by them this time. Nope, it's immediately on Reddit. Someone has it circled in red. They're like, what does this mean? Like, is this happening? And it's so fun, like seeing all the different ideas pop up. And then we'll talk about it in our narrative meetings too. It'll be like, hey, people were like thinking about this. They're circling in here. It looks like we had some good breadcrumbs, because I think that's what you want as a writer. You want to lay breadcrumbs, that way, like, maybe not everyone, maybe like a good 10% of people or 20% will like really zero in and be like, wait a minute, I think this might be happening. But then the other 80%, when it does happen, they'll think back on those breadcrumbs and be like, oh, it makes sense. I see how this path was set up. I think that's what you want. You want some people to catch it, right?
Oh, that's so interesting, but it's true. Sometimes people don't like things because it's predictable, but I think people dislike things even more when it just doesn't make sense.
I definitely agree. It's tough because I think in modern days, there's a lot of stories in movies, and there's fatigue with things like superheroes where it's like the same story over and over, and it's tough because story has a form. There's a difference between structure and form, though. Like, I think there's a form that maybe doesn't necessarily need to be followed, but there should be some kind of structure that you can understand, like the rising and falling actions and kind of like where things are leading without being totally taken out of it. I do understand like subverting expectations is fun and nice, but I think if you just keep subverting at a certain point, you're like, I don't know how much anything matters.
Yeah, good point. So now we're going to go into our geeky recommendations to help you embrace your nerdiness. So today I want to recommend escape rooms. So at the time of this recording last week, I actually went with my book club to an escape room. We kind of fitted into the theme with the book we were reading, and I thought that was so fun and a unique spin on a book club. If you haven't been to an escape room before, I suggest checking it out. They're fun. There's little puzzles. They're themed, and it's very immersive, and I think all of us nerds would love it. Do you have a recommendation, Dean? Or actually, have you been to an escape room?
I was going to say I'll second escape rooms first, because I've been to some fun ones before. I really like some of the theme ones where they get creative with the narrative. I can get really engaged in those. So, yeah.
I could see you creating an escape room.
Honestly, that would be a fun thing to do. Who knows? I feel like I do like working in different mediums, so maybe someday. But recommendations, I think, and this is just like any type of stuff right now, too.
It could be like abstract, like be yourself, or it could be something literally anything.
Yeah, I guess I can give a little bit of both. I think for what I'm currently really into, and something I think might have gone under people's radar, is The Righteous Gemstones. It's a very interesting TV show about a family of like mega pastors, and they have this almost like mafioso sort of thing going on as they continue in the seasons. Some really good actors in there. John Goodman is one of the leads too. He's a fantastic job. Really good show that kind of keeps you on the edge of your seat there. I would definitely recommend that one.
Cool.
And then in terms of just some advice, I guess, one thing I do like to say for people who are creatives and interested in maybe pursuing, whether it's writing or art is something in any creative field, I think the biggest thing I like to say is grow your circle. Because that's one thing I have not been doing until I've gotten out here. To be honest, I think I've always been a solitary writer. I've always written on my own, and there's nothing wrong with that. Some people work better on their own, but I think it's really important to have a circle of other creatives. I'm not saying like go out and network and meet famous people who can get you jobs. That's not what I'm saying. That's really hard to do. I'm not great at networking myself. I'm still trying to get better. So I don't think I can speak on that, but I will say just making a core group of friends who really are excited to create is so important. And it's almost more important that it's not the same type of creating. I think I have some friends who are really excited about music. I love music. I'm very engaged in listening to music, and there's a lot of bands and artists I love, but I'm not a musician. I can't create music. I wouldn't even know how to create music. It's something so foreign to me, even just thinking about it right now. Having some close friends in my circle who know things like that, when I go to create short films, it's so important to have their insights, because I can ask them on like things for like sound and audio editing, and it's really nice to have these different specialities in my like kind of core group. So I'd say like, yeah, really try to grow your circle of friends who are creating, because I think that's something that's really valuable. And I think the nice thing about that too is all of you continue to grow and change. Like you can also help lift each other up. If one of you gets that cool job opportunity and you have a chance to hire other people, you can try to hire some people. I'm not always advocating for nepotism. I definitely think you should hire the best person for the job, but if you know that person can do a really good job and they haven't had that chance yet, you might be able to offer them that chance if you get there that someday, or maybe they could offer you that chance. But either way, I think it's really nice to grow that circle, have that camaraderie with people who are other writers and creators. It's something I didn't do enough of until I got out here, and I'm just starting to get more of that circle now, and I'm so grateful for the people I do have around me.
That's such a wonderful recommendation. What are some of the ways that you found have been the most helpful to grow your circle?
That's such a good question, because I think initially one of the things I thought was like classes, because I think that's the go-to thing is if you have any type of profession and you want to grow your experience in there, you go to classes and you have other people who are also trying to increase their expertise. So I think classes is a good way to meet people. That being said, I think the older you get, it might be a little bit tougher. A lot of classes are virtual, so I think some of those can be tricky. I will say though, a fantastic class. Susan O'Connor, one of the writers from BioShock, incredibly talented writer. She has an awesome class called the Narrative Department, and she does some really cool classes there. And not only is it engaging and you learn a lot, one of the coolest things is she has a whole Discord setup where you can talk to other people, you can go and meet people and do like routine check-ins and chats and grow a little bit of a group there. So I would definitely recommend that class. But I think beyond that, clubs, activities, even just like meetups. I'm in LA, so it's probably maybe more a city-based thing, but there's a lot of meetups around here. So I think one of the ones I've been trying to go to more is just general entertainment industry meetups, and it's really cool. I've met people who, work behind the camera all day kind of thing, or even directors, and it's really cool like talking to people who work in these different spheres and getting a chance to make some friends there is always really nice. So I'd say clubs, activities, classes, even like intramural sports are not a bad thing to do too. If you have something like maybe you enjoyed playing volleyball or something, and it doesn't matter if you're not too good at it, it's really more just for fun kind of thing. I think you can try to find some groups around you and make some cool friends through that. I'll also say your circle doesn't just have to be creators. I think I have some really cool people who are consumers, and they love books, they love movies, and I really take their opinions highly. And there's some of my beta readers. For people who aren't familiar with writers, a lot of writers will have beta readers that they send out some of their scripts to whenever they're first working on something, especially something larger and that took a lot of time on. They're going to have some revisions and edits. They'll send it out to a couple different readers first, get a sense of where they're at. So a lot of those people are just people I grew up with who were huge nerds that I used to talk about the books with when we grew up. So I think, I would definitely recommend growing that circle in any way you can of people who you can rely on to be there for you, whether they're just there to create with you or to enjoy it as you create and give you feedback. I think that's really important.
I love that. I've definitely found that meetups are great, and I love book clubs. A great website is bookclubs.com. And if you want to meet people, but you can't find a club or a meetup group that kind of fits with the type of hobby that you want to do or the people that you want to meet, start your own. Because I'm sure no matter where you are, there's going to be other people near you that also are craving that same connection.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, Dean, so much for being here. Just thinking about Neopets again was kind of cool. Hearing about the entertainment industry and also Jumpstart, wow, I haven't thought about that in a while. But also, it was really exciting to talk to you about What We Do in the Shadows because it's one of my favorite shows right now. And it was neat to get that on the podcast. And I know you're also super, super busy. So thank you so much for making the time to be here. This was fun.
It was my pleasure, Morgan. Yeah, I had a great time chatting with you too, and I'm always happy to talk about What We Do in the Shadows. Let me know if you watch the one I recommended to you too, because I think you'll like that one as well.
Awesome. I already forgot the name. What is it? Well, I would hear it as I'm editing and I would write it down.
Our flag means death. No worries.
Okay. Yes. Well, now I have to watch it. Thank you again so much for being here. Where can people find you?
Yeah, sure. I'm on a lot of the socials. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, all that fun stuff. I'm also on YouTube and TikTok, as I mentioned. My handle there is Surrealms. I've been doing my own fun little things there if you want to check it out. And then beyond that, if you are a Neopets fan or if you used to be a Neopets fan, I would say keep your eyes peeled because there's going to be some really cool stuff coming out with the plot that you definitely won't want to miss.
Sounds really exciting, and I will share links to all of that in the show notes.
Thanks so much.
All right, everybody, please make sure you are following the show in your favorite podcast app so you never miss an episode. And please, if you can, leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. The ratings and reviews really do help with getting the word about the show out there. And if you're watching on YouTube, please be sure to subscribe and like this video. You can get in touch with me via email at thatnerdthingpod@gmail.com, and be sure to follow the show on Instagram and TikTok at thatnerdthingpod. And remember, I'm always looking for nerdy guests to have on the show, so if you know someone that you think would be a great fit, or if you think you would want to be on the show, please reach out and let me know and we can chat about it. And remember to please share the show with your nerdy friends, and I'll see you next time.